What's going on, guys? Welcome to Travis's Race Cars. I know you're like looking saying, man, what you got going on back there?
Whoa, 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 whoa. A man goes inside to take a leak, and next thing you know, you replace him.
Hey, it's Travis's Race Cars. What do I got, Robert?
You have God help me, Travis got a race car.
Better do that one more time.
God help me, Travis has got a race car.
Well, I better get out of the hot seat because, all right. Well, I thought you were going to the bathroom.
I did.
Oh,
I did.
well.
I did.
Hey.
Oh, good Lord.
Lay it on him the right way.
What's going on, guys? And welcome to Rabbit's Used Cars. Travis,
Robert.
Matthew, Bell in the house. We have NASCAR racing history.
There weren't very many Indianapolis 500 veterans who came here to try to make this race, but here was one of them who surprisingly, well, maybe surprisingly, got into the field in 26th starting position. This is Danny Sullivan in the corporate car of Indianapolis, 169.2.
And Bob, really and truly, I felt like that Danny Sullivan could have been anywhere from 5th to 40th in his qualifying.
Turned in a good performance. We talked with Danny Sullivan about his thoughts after his qualifying run.
I didn't think I made it because I slid it real bad in two. I actually had to put opposite lock in it, sliding it off there, and I thought, well, everybody told me if you do that, you lose a mile an hour or two, so I thought, well, that's it, and the field was so bunched up there in the 68s, that I thought, I've only run a couple laps over 68.4, so I ran a 69.3 this morning, and I thought, when everybody started applauding coming down the back, I thought, well, maybe it wasn't a bad lap, so I'm real happy. I'm tickled pink.
Now, I want to throw a little warning out because I know someone's going to say it. No, this is not my race car. This is my friend's race car. Because when I'm not allowed to have race cars on the internets anymore because when I do, I can make grown men cry. So I can't do that. So I have to live vicariously through my good friend, Travis Matthew.
It happens.
It does. It does.
So anyhow, I probably called you almost 2 years ago, and I said, Rob, I have the opportunity to buy the corporate car of Indianapolis, and we'll get into all what it is. And Rob's like, what is it? And I said, it's a Chevy Lumina from the very first Brickyard 400.
And I didn't know, I knew of the car. I've seen it. When he started talking about it, I remembered it. Of course, and I'm not the biggest NASCAR nut, I've said that before, but everyone remembers that first Brickyard. That was just a monumental thing, period. They had to raise the wall at Indy
Right, and
for the NASCARs.
Yep, and growing up in Indianapolis, they did almost 2 years of prep work to the track to lure NASCAR down Winston Cup back then to get them a race. They needed something else to fill the stands when it wasn't filled for Indy 500 week and Memorial Day weekend.
Well, and this is the thing. Just the guys qualifying, you said there was 50,000 people there.
Yeah, so what they did, and this was practice.
Practice runs.
So yeah, they had...
What even qualified as practice?
They had a dozen cars come down for tire test and practice and all the big names and everything. And they had 50,000 people in the stands to watch a tire test.
Can you believe you couldn't do that? Hell, they couldn't get 50,000 people in the stands now if they had to.
They can't even get 50,000 at Bristol if they had to right now. You can shoot a gun through that place and not kill anybody.
That's bad.
So anyhow, they went through all this prep and stuff, and this is 92 leading to 93, and they finally announced that they are going to have a Winston Cup race, a NASCAR race at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in August of 94. For that race, they had 85 entries for one NASCAR race. Hell, it paid $100,000 just to get in the field.
$100,000 just to make the field.
You got it. Of course, I was standing in the stands or sitting in the stands on the very first Brickyard 400 in 1994. There was no reason for this car to have made the race because they had 85 entries for the very first Brickyard 400. And simply put, the 99 on the side is from Checkers. Did you guys have that down here? No?
We had Checkers, and then up north there was Rallies.
Rallies, that's right. And so we had Rallies in Indy. But it was a Checkers sponsor, and Checkers, everything at Checkers was 99 cents. So it was sodas and fries and burgers, but we didn't have it in Indy. It didn't make much sense, but there was a small mom and pop company that put it together and said, hey, let's put 1985 Indy 500 winner, spin to win Danny Sullivan in the driver's seat. And they tried to qualify.
Who was also on Miami Vice, by the way.
He was a bad guy on Miami
He's the
Vice.
bad guy. That's why I always liked Danny Sullivan.
I mean, he was the guy with the tag Hoyer that's like, never mind my watch kind of thing. That's right. So Sullivan, they hire him to get in this thing. And, of course, he's open wheel, and they throw him in this thing. And he can drive the wheels off just about anything. But, I mean, you're asking a lot for a very underfunded team. So City of Indianapolis comes on board, and they do this corporate car of Indy. So if this thing said Burger King on it or Kmart, not that I'm not a big fan of Burger King and Kmart, but I wouldn't give a hoot about this 94 Chevy Lumina. And I kind of found it about 8 years ago sitting in a warehouse, and it was in the Carolinas, y'all. And I called Rob. I called you about 16 months ago, almost 2 years ago, and I said, man, I have an opportunity to buy a Winston Cup car. And Hal Needham said, if you ever want to lose a lot of money, Travis, buy a NASCAR team. Well, damn it, I should have listened to Hal Needham. But
Smart guy.
you told me that you go, all right, give me the gist of this thing. And I said, it has Indianapolis on it. And you go, you got me there, and la, la, la. And I told you that I saw it race in 94. And so the city of Indianapolis, Danny Sullivan blew up the car on Chevy Test Day. And they borrowed a motor from RCR, Richard Childress Racing, and they qualified the damn thing 26th. And they put it in the field with 43 or 44 other cars, and 85 entries tried to make it to the first Brickyard 400. But this car made it. So after the race,
It qualified what?
qualified 26th, brought out the first yellow flag, go us, and that's a whole nother story.
Now we are under caution because the side window blew out of the number 99 car. There you can see it flying off. And also notice now that it comes down on the racetrack. Harry Gant will run over it. Wow. That was the side window out of the Sullivan car, and there he is in the pit area.
You have to have, under NASCAR rules, that side window has to be in the car. So we see the fellas taping the window in. Also, Harry Gant has made a pit stop to check the damage on his car after hitting that window.
Gary Gerald is in Danny Sullivan's pit.
He came in, and there was a consultation with a NASCAR official. He shut the engine down, and everybody kind of stood around. The crew didn't realize what the problem was. Then they got the spare. You see them now trying to tape it into place, a very time-consuming process. And after Danny qualified yesterday, did such a terrific job to qualify 26th overall.
But ended up 33rd, lost 4 laps throughout the race. But Danny Sullivan kept all the doors on it. And we're talking about Indy 500 champion Danny Sullivan driving a full-bodied Winston Cup car. And there was only 4 race car drivers that had previously drove Indy: A.J. Foyt, Danny Sullivan, Jeff Brabham, and John Andretti in that race. And everything else was good old boys and people that were used to driving these big, heavy, I mean, these things they're not light. But
Yeah, you're to push it.
I did. After the race, they simply returned the motor to RCR, and this thing went into storage. It was never raced again. Hell, the winning car was raced and wrecked again. So every car that even attempted to qualify or was in the race has either been repainted, raced in another race, a Busch, an ARCA team. They raced it at Pocono. They tore the doors off of it. But for some reason, this one Chevy Lumina that said the corporate car of Indianapolis, my hometown, survived. And then I called you and I said, man, what in the hell should I do? And I gave you the whole song and dance when the window blew out on it on the 3rd lap, that I was sitting in turn 1 and I caught a piece of the window and all this stuff. And he goes, Rob said, man, Travis, this thing's got your name written all over it. And I said, do I really need a race car? And he said,
That's a dumb question.
I mean, who doesn't need a race car? So here we sit almost 16, 18 months later after a simple phone call between you and me. And I bought it out of the North Carolina Motorsports Hall of Fame. We had Aaron Brown, who was Dale Earnhardt Sr.'s in charge of his super speedway program, restore the car. It runs, it drives, it moves, and if you want to see a grown man cry, this thing is bad as hell. Long story short, here it is. I mean, without a simple phone call between you and me, I don't know that I'd pulled the trigger, but
I'm glad you did. I love it. I love the car. I love the significance of it.
and it's not sitting in a museum rotting away.
And the thing that's cool is what you just said. out of all those other cars, I mean, yeah, the Brickyard 400, the very first race, these cars, this was, a big deal, the very first one. And none of them existed.
No.
They all got used for other stuff, repainted, redone, whatever. This car stayed the same. It never got messed with.
So before it was the 99 car, it was a number 4 Kodak car, Morgan McClure, like a Sterling Marlin or Ernie Irvin car, and you can see the yellow paint bleeding.
Yeah, you can actually see spots of yellow. And that's another cool thing, just how NASCARs have changed. This is a steel-bodied car, and all the seams have been mudded, basically bondoed up on it.
Yeah.
But the thing that's cool about it is, and this is my sign shop background coming
Sure.
up, every NASCAR you see now is wrapped. The Rusty car was traditional decals like this too. That's layered vinyl, all of that is.
Yeah.
And it's just so cool. That's a painted car, layered vinyl. And the thing is, it hasn't been repainted, it hasn't been restickered, it hasn't been anything. These are the same decals, same paint, same everything.
Yeah.
Literally, that was there in '94.
And Danny kept all the doors on it.
And that's the thing. You see all these cars that had the
Yeah.
tire marks on the sides. This thing is really in great shape.
So it's the Brickyard 400 around the Indianapolis Motor Speedway is 160 laps. This thing did 156 laps. So just a few shy of all 400 miles. Kept all 4 doors on it. Didn't rub up against anybody the rest of the race, or finished it. And then went into a museum and went into private storage with the sports marketing team, and then it ended up in just a ranch-style home in North Carolina in their garage, and they were the people who were the kind of mom and pop team that put it together. Danny Sullivan doesn't know we have it back, and he doesn't know that, but that was something you and I talked about, because when I had the opportunity to buy it, I kind of called a few loose contacts, because it's never who you are, it's always who you know, at the Motor Speedway. And I'm like, what would be the chances of us, if we put this thing back together, to get Danny Sullivan behind the wheel to turn a couple laps in the corporate car of Indy one more time? And they're pretty much on board. Like, we may have to, they may think we're crazier than hell, but they may be right. But, they haven't seen it in person, and you saw it for the first time this morning, and it was like,
I love it. I do. This is the thing. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm not a grassy knoll guy.
Yeah.
But I heard
It happened.
from a friend of a friend
It happened.
about a little, conspiracy about the corporate car. And this, to me, is what makes the story about the car.
Now, this car not only qualified and finished, but it also brought out the first yellow flag.
But that yellow flag is where all the questions come in.
Right. So who did we borrow the engine from?
Richard Childers Racing.
And so during the very first lap of the Brickyard 400, I'm very sure there's a YouTube clip of it out there somewhere. We'll wait.
The flag is about to come out to signal the beginning of the inaugural Brickyard 400. And the green is out.
And now, Bob, it's just another race. All the hype is over. These guys now can worry about winning the first Brickyard.
Can they race 2 abreast through the corners? You bet they can. We saw it in the first and second corners. Rick Mast has the lead as they come down the backstretch with Dale Earnhardt tucked in right behind him, but Jeff Gordon is trying to make a move on Earnhardt for the second position in the third turn, but he did not get it. Now Mast still has the lead as they head through corner number 3 into corner number 4.
And that move that Jeff Gordon made on the inside of Earnhardt probably let Rick Mast lead that first lap.
In 78 previous runnings of the Indy 500, 151 different drivers have led a lap. Rick Mast has become the first to lead a lap in the history of competitive stock car racing, and that's the first time he has ever led a first lap of any race.
There's Labonte on the inside of Earnhardt trying to push him back to 5th spot, and Elliott's going to try to get alongside Earnhardt coming off 2.
So Earnhardt falling back a few spots here in the early going of the race. Perhaps the car isn't working quite as well as he had hoped it would.
See Rick Mast on the pole, Earnhardt Sr. on the outside, and Dale Earnhardt wanted to lead that first lap. So bad that when they come into turn 1, where young Travis was sitting in 1994, they slam doors and then carry it through through the short chute, come all the way down the backstretch, through 3, through 4, And if you watch Earnhardt come out of 4 on the very first lap of the very first Brickyard 400, he slams the wall again with the attempt to lead that very first lap.
Which damaged his car right off the head.
His car was a train wreck after the first lap.
It shifted the rear end over in his car.
Toe out, and it's a complete mess. So now not only is the driver's side in against the wheels and tires and just smoking and a mess, then he came out of 4 and slammed the other side. So the track bar, everything's a disaster on Earnhardt's car, and we're 2.5 miles into the Brickyard 400. So he's got to fix his car.
But if he pulls in without a caution, he's going to get lapped.
Losing laps and no caution. So he's out there hanging on for dear life. Lap 1, lap 2, lap 3 across the yard of bricks going into 1, third lap. What happens?
That window
mysteriously
pops out
of the 99 car. And if back in the day, these windows are held in basically by seat belts, and the driver can reach over and click it. And
this is where I want to step in. That window, like I said, literally, you could have it out in a second, just reaching over.
Yeah. And
keep in mind,
and they're not held in like they're held in today. The driver in the modern Winston Cup or NASCARs, they have to be out of their seat to be able to escape and get out the passenger window.
Right.
All right, so if you're the wind and it's got to slide kind of that way to get out, there's a simple seatbelt buckle in here. And I don't know that you can, it's just like a GM seatbelt buckle right there. And it's dark and I apologize, but there it is. All right, so if you simply just give it a pop, that's free. And then, whoa, the window's blown out.
changer, your window comes out.
Yeah, and in this day and age, the driver cannot reach this anymore. So the driver was able to do that.
See this right here?
And that's it.
Check out the screw holes where they drilled and popped the new glass in. Something else really cool. Look at the yellow paint for when it was the Kodak car.
So if your golden boy is out there nursing his car around and you, Danny Sullivan, your team has borrowed an engine from his car owner and they need a yellow flag,
Danny made him one.
So it's the Rob, Travis, Matt, Kobe, Dan show, and we're out there trying to put this.
Play NASCAR.
Yeah, and then somebody forgot, to snap the window in. My bad. But that's not how it happened.
Mm-mm.
We've known this for 20
But,
hours.
And the thing is, it came from a RCR source
Yes.
that why that window came out.
So
it was an inside job all the way around.
So anyhow, thank you for everybody who's seen this on the Twitters and the Instagrams and the face machines and all that stuff, because I wouldn't have it here in Greenburgh without him giving me a call and saying, why aren't you doing it? But
That's Greenville, by the way. Whatever.
Yeah. Spartanburg
and Greenville. He puts them together and calls it Greenburgh.
That's the airport, isn't it? The Spartanburg, Greenburgh?
It's the Greenville Spartanburg.
Anyhow, there's been people that have been sharing photos of this thing and took a picture of it on the track or took a picture of it on the parade laps or took a picture of it when the window blew out of it. If you have a picture of it, somehow get it to us. We would love to see a picture of it on the track back in 1994. And it's the only race it ran. Now, we are doing a little history on it when it was a Morgan McClure car, when it was a Kodak number 4. Hell, this thing could have won Daytona. We don't have any idea.
All we know is a speedway car.
So it's a super speedway car, and it was a Morgan McClure yellow Kodak number 4, probably an Ernie Irvin car back then. And, you might as well tell them what you tell them all the time.
Guys, we'll catch you next time at Rabbit's Used Cars.